Okay, so wanted to do a quick update, if you would, on the heater and how well it's going. It's been several weeks now. The prints have been good. Take a look. No stringing, no nothing. Everything's fine. No popping. There was no supports used on all of the holes there. Came out real good. So even though the humidity here, which is absolutely atrocious today, my filament is doing great as far as being dry and working well. I did want to clarify a couple of things on using a dryer for your AMS because a lot of people were saying certain things and then I think they were getting certain aspects confused. One thing you'll notice, I don't have the filament in here anymore. I did originally because I was constantly doing a lot of different change outs and I wanted to have something to help, reduce the humidity, and I was changing it out like crazy, in part because I'm running a dryer. Now, you remember the original discussion about running a dryer. It doesn't matter how much humidity is in our air right here. By heating it up, you're creating a deficit, which can then suck up moisture and take it and escape, and then the moisture's out of the room. That's good. But here's the thing. If you're in a highly humid environment, you're flowing in a bunch of humidity into that thing, and it's going to get into the desiccant, which is exceptionally hygroscopic. That stuff is made out of clay, They have plastic-based stuff that they use for desiccants, but I think most of the stuff is silica, and that stuff it's basically dirt rust, if you would. It's the oxidized clay, if you would, of silica. So it's highly hygroscopic. Now, here's the thing: you cannot dry your filament with desiccant. The idea of putting desiccant into your AMS is the idea that you're grabbing a sealed container of filament that's already been dried or been put into a dryer, and then you take it and you place it in your AMS. And the AMS has this lid, and you want to keep this little environment free of moisture that would then get into the filament. So if you've already dried your filament and you put it in here, then you just need to monitor and manage the air in here to make sure it doesn't get too humid and get sucked into that plastic. And that's why a lot of people were like, oh, well, I've got, things down here and I can get a 10 with desiccant. And it's like, well, yeah, because you've got a hydrograph right on top of filament, and what's going to suck up all the water? Or right on top of the silica. It's going to suck up all the water. That's just the humidity right next to your silica. That's it. That's all you're doing, is telling me you've got no humidity next to your stuff. And the only thing that's really good for is the idea of telling you whether or not you need to go and heat it and get the water out of it. So for that, all desiccant does is pull moisture out of the air. So it's pulling moisture out of the air in here so that the moisture that gets in here can't get into your filament. So if you're taking dry filament, putting it in here, and then doing that, then you're good. And if you're in a dry season where it's not too bad and you've got all that other stuff, you don't have to worry about it. What I'm dealing with is I need to battle the buildup of moisture, because there's no way, whether I'm lifting lids, doing whatever, that the desiccant's going to be able to keep up with the moisture and stop moisture from getting into the filament. The filament gets moist, it gets wet, and it needs to be dried. Do this. Take your desiccant, put it in a bowl on a little paper towel, whatever you want. Put it in the microwave for 1 minute. Pull it out, and then take your hand and stick it in the desiccant. And what you're going to have is all the desiccant beads will stick to your fingers. Why? Because the water got hot, said, I need to get the heck out of here, and it rose to the surface and now needs to evaporate off, okay? And what happens is because it's moist on the outside, it's going to stick to your fingers, and you end up with these really hot balls and burn your fingers. Don't do it too much. So you need to heat this up, which is what this is doing, okay? And it's running, I've got this running up around, I have it set to 52 degrees, and it runs up to about 60. It climbs to 60 as it does its little cycle. So it goes to 60, then it drops down to like 40 something, but it averages out, and it comes in, heats up, and it dries the filament. It causes all the water to come out of the filament, and then it blows it out of the thing, okay? And by doing this, keeping this humidity in here at 30% actually keeps the filament itself extremely dry, okay? Haven't had 1 ounce of problem with any of my prints at all. And like I'm saying, I'm not getting any stringing. I'm not getting nothing. This was printed at Ludicrous, okay? So, and it looks great. There's nothing wrong with, I don't know if you can see it. This is a little desiccant chamber for a dish of stuff I'm doing. But no, there was no problem with any of that. There was no failings, no drip, pop, nothing. Everything's perfect on this damn thing. This is great. So I do have this set to go off between 30 and 33 for the high and low. If somebody needs me to explain how these controllers work and how you set them, I can do that. I can do a little walkthrough. My temperatures that I'm running are 52 for this, and my thermostat for here is I'm running between 30 and 33. You can run it lower. You can tell it to go down to 29. I've been able to get it down as low as 27, but it just goes off more often, and I don't need to do that. I'm just needing to keep the filament dry. So instead of trying to say I'm going to get rid of all the water and there's never going to be any water in the air, okay? I'm just saying, screw it. I know there's going to be water in the air. I'm just going to make sure that the filament stays dry all the time. And that appears to work really good. So, and again, if you leave the desiccant in here, it's just going to suck up all the moisture that you're sending, any moisture that it can, as it comes through, and you're blowing moist air across it. Doesn't matter whether it's warm or not, because to get the moisture out of desiccant, you got to go a lot hotter to get moisture out of it. So it's more actually likely, even at 60 degrees Celsius, to keep absorbing more water. So you're fighting a lost cause. You're feeding the desiccant water, and it doesn't do you much good. It's a nice little comfortable. I haven't had to touch this. It's been sitting here for a week. I haven't messed with the unit at all. I haven't had to think about it. It's just, I set it, forget it, and now I can just work on printing. So I hope you guys have had similar stories, or if you've been waiting, I think this is the one. So give it a shot. That should be it for now. Let me know what you think. If you need any other tips on how to do different parts of it, we can go through a full show of, how I've got the wires run from here, the thermostat here. I can walk through basically a setup, but I'm pretty sure most of you guys are pretty smart. Although, individual things can be different. Yep, I opened it up, exposed it. Now it's going to want to dry it off again. But that's okay. It'll turn off in about 5-10 minutes, and then it'll be off for an hour. So give it a shot.